Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Coco, and today we are talking about the most overhyped books that I have ever read in my entire life. These are going to be some hot takes, so take them with a grain of salt. If it's one of your favorite books, I'm sorry, we just have differing opinions. Now that that disclaimer is out of the way, I just want to jump right into it. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I don't have a proper mic stand yet, so I am going to set this down. The first book that I want to talk about is one that I read the most recently. This is by Kazaguchi, and that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This one I really wanted to like, but I have heard some very mixed things about it. This is a time travel book that's pretty short. It's a novella, and it's, I think, 3 or 4 stories kind of put together about this. It's translated, so I am going to give it the benefit of the doubt as far as the translation goes. Maybe it just wasn't a great translation, but the story itself was also very mid. This is about time travel in this little coffee shop in Japan, because this is a Japanese author. It's set in Japan. You can go back in time as a patron in this coffee shop, but you have to sit in this particular seat, and you have to be back before the coffee gets cold, or else something bad is going to happen. It had a really, really good premise. I really expected it to be better than it was, honestly, but it was just incredibly mid. I don't feel like the time travel element was done very well, and everything seemed really surface level or just completely shoved down your throat. I don't mind a book with like cute, tiny little details, but the details that we were given in this book don't feel like they had any necessity to the story. So I'm sitting here looking for meaning in some of these little things that are being told in very specific detail, even if the meaning is just like showing beauty or something else that doesn't quite deal with the story. But it didn't turn out like I thought it would. It was way more surface level than I thought it would be, and I just really don't get why this one is popular, unfortunately. I really would have loved to like this book. It's got a few sequels, I think. I just didn't really care. The only reason I finished it is because it was short, and I was listening to it on audio, but I zoned out several times. I tried reading this physically and I couldn't get through it, to be honest. So unfortunately, Before the Coffee Gets Cold is the first one that I just wasn't a huge fan of and don't understand the hype. The next one is Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. This one might only really be popular in the booktube circles that I pay attention to. Maybe it's not, but as far as horror books go, or thrillers, whatever you would want to call this one, it's well known. It's popular. It's about a family who their daughter is supposedly possessed. They don't know what to do. They've tried doing all the normal things, like psychologists, that type of thing. They think she's just mentally ill or has schizophrenia. The dad ends up contacting a priest. This whole thing happens where they are able to get an exorcism for their daughter, but only if it's filmed for this documentary TV show. So they're basically exploiting their kid. It's supposed to be ambiguous. It's supposed to be like, is she actually possessed? Is she doing this for attention? Does a family have a secret? I didn't find it scary at all. I've heard people say that this is a terrifying book, but as someone who used to be Catholic, I grew up Catholic, and I don't believe in possessions or like the Abrahamic religions at all. It just really fell short for me, and it didn't actually feel very twisty at all. It didn't feel like there was any ambiguity, and I finished the book feeling like that's it. That's what the hype is about for this book. I just truly didn't get it. Maybe I just am not a fan of Paul Tremblay. I've heard his other books have some mixed reviews. It just isn't my thing, and I really got bored about halfway through and just didn't care. Everyone in this book was annoying, was not a good person, and I wasn't rooting for anyone. Not that you have to be, but I also feel like you gotta at least make the story interesting if I'm not gonna root for anyone in it. And I just did not find it interesting. It was very mid, and I didn't hate it, but I also feel like I wasted my time reading this. The next one is one that I know for a fact, as far as YA horror goes, it's very popular, but I truly feel like I am an outlier here because I don't like Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. I know that this is a YA, and I know it's going to have like angsty teenagers in it. I do want to say the one thing I did really like about this book was the ace representation. I do think that, I'm not ace, but I do think that it's good that there was ace representation at all. I can't speak to how good of representation it was because I'm not part of the ace community, but I do like that. Like, there's one of the boys is asexual, but they're just 2 angry teenage boys who are very codependent. One of them likes to draw creepy things based upon what the other boy writes, which is creepy botanical horror stories. It's supposed to be some sort of YA horror where the stories may be coming to life and they have to fight these creatures from the story. It feels like, and take this in a very nice way. It feels like it was written by someone who just graduated with an MFA in creative writing, but isn't the top of their class, if that makes any sense. The way that the floweriness of the writing and the metaphors and similes that were used don't feel like they actually made sense or brought anything to the story. It felt way too flowery and disingenuous because I don't feel like the author had this true grasp of making prose beautiful in a way that feels natural, because it just did not feel natural. The twist, the so-called twist that was in this book, I wasn't sure if it was actually supposed to be a twist because I figured it out very, very quickly in this book. And again, I know this is a YA book, but I have read some incredible YA books that have incredible writing, and I just don't think this is up to par at all. Another book that is honestly way worse than Don't Let the Forest In, that was very, very popular on TikTok a while ago. I don't know, I haven't been on TikTok in a while since it became, well, it's always been a doom scrolling machine, but now it's a huge propaganda machine. You can't even say certain words on it without getting banned permanently. So yeah, I'm not a fan of censorship, so TikTok is not my thing. I only have YouTube as far as my social media goes, and I don't even really consider this social media, but I digress. So Icebreaker by Hannah Grace is a book that has been very, very popular on TikTok, on, I assume, BookTube. I'm not sure, but this is honestly one of the worst books that I've ever read. It's horribly written, and it's not bad in like, I mean, it is bad in the sense that I don't like the content, but the writing in this is just, it feels like a 13-year-old who's trying out writing for the first time would write it, which it'd be good if it was a 13-year-old doing it, but this is an adult woman who's writing really bad storylines, and this book is just way too long. The characters are obnoxious. The plot line felt flimsy. It's about Stassi and I think Nate. He's a hockey player. She's a figure skater, and something happens where they have to end up using the same rink in their college, but they hate each other at first, even though it's very flimsy as far as the hate to love goes. They end up wanting to be together, and he's going to help her do her figure skating or something. I can't remember, honestly. The characters in this felt very one-dimensional. There's a partner character that's just like evil for no reason as far as being Stassi's friend goes. There's this like found family of all these hockey boys. It's a college book, but it feels like they're in high school. Also, a mild spoiler, there's a weird scene where they're getting dirty in a limo where other people are in there, and there's a limo driver. And I feel like that's dubious consent, as far as like the limo driver didn't sign up for that, and it's just weird to me. It's just not well written. The epilogue at the end was so completely unnecessary, and anything good about this book was ruined by the epilogue, and I just didn't care about any of these characters. It was painful to finish. This book was way, way too long. It was like over 450-ish pages. I was in pain. It nearly broke me. Icebreaker nearly broke me by the end of the book. I will tell anyone, even if you like hockey romance, there's got to be so much better hockey romance for you to read. I'm not a huge fan of sports romance, and I've tried other different sports besides hockey, and it doesn't do it for me. But also this, I don't know, it just was not good. It was really not good. I've talked about this in other videos, so if you want to hear me rant, it's probably in some of my like worst books. I think it's in my worst books of 2025, which is crazy because I feel like I read this so long ago, but it was one of the first books I read last year. It did not set me off on a good foot. The next two books that I want to talk about are by the same author. That's the only reason why I'm really grouping them together. Just because I feel like showing a timeline of worsening writing, or maybe she's getting pushed into writing these books and publishing them way too fast. But Abby Jimenez wrote Just for the Summer and Say You'll Remember Me. Just for the Summer, we're going to start out with that. I really liked Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, which she always does like medical adjacent people as main characters in her book. So the first one that I read was Yours Truly, which is about two doctors. They're vying for the same position as far as like head surgeon or something. They get off on the wrong foot, and the guy ends up writing letters to be like, hey, I have really bad anxiety. I'm so sorry I came off this way. And they start falling for each other because they write letters back to each other, and they both work in this ER. It was really, really sweet. It was a really good representation of anxiety. But when you get to Just for the Summer, which is about a travel nurse, and I don't remember what the guy does, but these two people come across each other in Just for the Summer, where they're basically say that they're cursed. They contact each other for the first time on a Reddit subreddit. So that's a red flag right there. But the subreddit is about like these two people that are cursed to both have their exes, when they break up with them, find love and like find their person right after they break up. And they decide that they're going to try and cheat the system and date each other just for the summer and then break up to try and find their own true loves. This one was just, it committed the crime of just being incredibly boring and not believable. And not even not believable, I just didn't care by the middle. I really liked this going in. I thought it was super fun, and some of the stuff was actually funny in it. But I really don't like plot holes or plot conveniences that are just glaring at you in the face. And it felt like we went from, in yours truly, a really good representation of mental health issues and anxiety, to trauma porn. It's just like, oh, let's dial this up to 11. And it just made the plot not work. The plot was flimsy. I was annoyed at the characters. It was boring. Once again, it was too long. I don't understand this trend of having 450, nearly 500 page romance books. I don't think that's necessary. And the same goes for Say You'll Remember Me. That one really, really felt like trauma porn. So the main male character in Say You'll Remember Me is a veterinarian. The female main character is like a copywriter for something. She makes all these jokes about mustard. I don't know. It's a mustard company. She makes jokes about mustard that are not funny. They end up, I don't remember how they met each other, but her aunt or her mom or her grandma has dementia, and that's a huge part of the story. I don't feel like it was done in a responsible way. I feel like it was trauma porn, and the romance was flimsy. The jokes were not good. The plot was not good. I didn't care about the characters. The ending is what made it drop down from like a 3 to like a 2 or a 1.5 for me, because the ending was so ridiculous and unbelievable and never would have happened in real life. And that's fine if it's a fantasy romance, but this is a contemporary romance, and you're telling me that these things happened so perfectly. No, it wouldn't have happened that way. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending of this is just truly unbelievable and not in a good way. It just is not good. That was written after Just for the Summer and I think a couple of other books by Abby Jimenez, and I really feel like maybe her publishers are pushing her to write books too quickly. She's not fleshing things out, and it's just turning into just tropes upon tropes. It's, what is it called, like the Flanderization, the Ned Flanders of it all. It just, no. The next is unfortunately something that I really wanted to like because it's very experimental, it's very interesting, and that is Open Throat by Henry Hoke. This is set in the brain of a mountain lion in LA who is based, I think, upon a real mountain lion that lived in LA that was supposedly a queer mountain lion. I really truly feel like this book is kind of fan service for people who are from LA or live in LA that knew of this lion. It's a fictional story about the lion's experience and how he experiences humans, and it's supposed to say things about like heteronormativity, being an outcast as far as being queer in a very heteronormative society, and I don't feel like this book actually spoke to that very much. The other issue that I had with this book is that anthropomorphized the lion to have some like human-like thoughts. Obviously, if it's a lion, so it's gonna think of things differently, but the way that they did this was not consistent. Sometimes it almost felt like the lion was going to like start speaking a soliloquy, and then the other times it was like very low-level thoughts, and it just didn't make sense because I wish they would have picked one way for this animal to think and gone with that. It just felt like I didn't know what to expect from chapter to chapter, and it's just very mid to me, and I honestly really don't remember much of it except maybe a few key plot points that didn't really hit well for me. So I know this is some people's favorite book or like one of their favorite books, and I like that the author was trying to experiment and do some sort of experimental fiction, but I just don't think it worked out. As far as my opinion goes, I don't think it worked. The next one, which is weird, the next one is weird because there's other books that I really enjoy from this author, even ones that are supposed to be a little cheesy. This is Lovelight Farms by B.K. Borison, which is a holiday romance book. Is about a woman who lies about having a boyfriend because she wants to win this contest for this influencer, because her farm that she inherited from her aunt, I think, is kind of failing. She has got a Christmas tree farm, and she tries to get this guy, I don't remember how they know each other. He pretends to be her boyfriend or her fiance. It really felt like it was just Gilmore Girls fan fiction, but not done super well. I wanted to love like the small town feel and everyone being in everyone else's business. I love a small town book. It can be silly. It doesn't have to be super serious. I just didn't think this one worked. It was very cutesy without substance. Didn't feel very Christmassy. This is supposed to be a Christmas book, and there were several times when I was reading this that I forgot that it was a Christmas romance, and I just don't think it's B.K. Borison's best work. I would tell you to read Good Spirits and First Time Caller. I really liked both of those. First Time Caller was great. I've never watched Sleepless in Seattle, but I really liked First Time Caller. So definitely don't write off B.K. Borison based on my review of Lovelight Farms. It was one of her earlier books, and I think she's gotten better as time has gone on. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I know this is a YA. This is a book that I know that a lot of adults have read, though, especially over the last 5 years or so. That whole series by Holly Jackson is very popular. I know this is a YA book. I know I need to suspend my disbelief, but I do feel like a teenager solving murders or a murder and using it for a school assignment wouldn't fly, and she would not get the access that she has to all of these things just because it's a school assignment. I also learned that this is changed for the American audience, which I really, really hate. If you are an English author or someone from the UK or Europe, please give us the benefit of the doubt. Just let us know where this book is based, and a lot of us will be like, oh yeah, they do things differently here. They don't do graduation the same way. They don't do final projects the same way. I understand that. A lot of people who are literate and read a lot and experience other cultures will understand that, and if they don't, then I guess that's their loss. But you can't assume that every American just doesn't know anything. We're not a monolith, especially people who are marginalized versus not. It's the same thing that pisses me off when people are like, well, you voted for this president. It's like, absolutely no, I did not. Do you know what gerrymandering is? Do you know what this country is built upon? Not good things. It's really hard to dismantle that when you don't have the means to do that. We try, we really do. A lot of us are trying, but it doesn't always work. That's a tangent for another day, but it just really bothers me. The other thing is, I read this a while ago, but there are other books that I've read even longer ago that I remember more of the plot points, and the fact that I don't remember very much of this at all really goes to show that I just don't think that this book is worth the hype, or Holly Jackson's books in general are worth the hype. I do remember the ending being ridiculous and very convenient. The plot was very convenient, and I just didn't buy it at all, and I didn't like the main character. And then the last one is one that I will do an entire deep dive on this author in the future. It's a really big undertaking, so I haven't done it yet. It's probably going to have to be during summer break, if I'm being honest. I'm taking a lot of credit hours and doing 6 classes this semester, and I want to give it its due, and I don't think that's going to happen when I'm this busy. But anything that C.S. Lewis writes is very problematic for many different reasons. But the Chronicles of Narnia in general are ripoffs of other authors, including J.R.R. Tolkien, and are very, very thinly veiled allegories for Christianity, and pretty much most of C.S. Lewis's work is poorly based off of another author's writing, and not in an inspiration kind of way, but in I'm going to steal the story and make it propaganda for Christianity, and specifically like Anglicanism and Catholicism, which I'm not a huge fan of at all. I really do want to do a deep dive into C.S. Lewis in general, just the very problematic things that he's done and gotten into. That is for another day. I'm going to end there. I have complained for way too long. Do enjoy being a hater sometimes, but I also just wanted to make this video in case you were curious if this is a book that you would want to read and you have similar tastes to me. I don't want you to waste your time on some of these books, and there's certain authors that I feel like shouldn't be getting money and pulling the wool over people's eyes like C.S. Lewis. But I will let you guys go. I will see you very soon with another video. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. Comment what your least favorite hyped book is. Make sure to subscribe and comment if you like my content. It helps me so much. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!